Hey guys, it's Britt. Tonight we're here with a little update on Allinwithari. She had actually a really unfortunate circumstance unfold over the last 24 hours, and I wanted to share my thoughts on her community post. So if you're interested, please keep watching. All right, you guys, so we all know who Allinwithari is, and she kind of went MIA there for a little while. It's funny because today I was actually going to film a video about her just kind of going missing, being called out and then going missing. That's kind of something that she has done in the past in her real life, according to her grandparents, where she would just kind of go MIA on her child. And this is something that I wasn't really surprised about. A lot of people, once they are so caught up in their lives, they kind of just like don't know what to say, so they just vanish. And I kind of thought that's what was happening, but it seems like she actually had a visit to the emergency room, and we're going to read all about it. And before we get into this, please keep in mind, as most of y'all know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a medical assistant. I am not someone who has been to med school or knows a whole lot about human health, the human body. I have a general understanding of some things. I did work in a doctor's office, but it was a dermatology office, and I was not in a medical role. I was running the front end of the office, not working in the back in rooms or anything like that. I did have a little bit of experience working with like Fraxel lasers and doing some, shadowing when it came to like Botox and fillers and stuff like that. But my point is that I was not a medical assistant or anything like that. However, I do want to tell you guys that when it comes to what happened with Ari, I actually do have some direct experience when it comes to passing out. And this is obviously something that's never come up. Therefore, I haven't shared it with my YouTube channel, but I will tell you guys that I am actually someone who passes out all the time. Like, hold on, rewind that. That sounds crazy. Not all the time, but when I get blood drawn, if I'm looking at someone else get their blood drawn, I will get really queasy. And when I think I was like 16 or 17, my mom actually took me to get 4 cartilage piercings done. And we did not go to a piercing place like I did over the last year. So y'all saw that in vlogs where I got my ears done. But we actually went to like the piercing pagoda in the mall, and they used a piercing gun to do the cartilage piercings. And I got 4 done, and I got up and I thought everything was okay. And we literally went to like the escalator, which was 10 feet from the piercing place. And I actually passed out on the escalator. It was actually really, really scary. I could have definitely hit my head if I was alone. Luckily my mom caught me, and people were standing like behind us too, so they were able to help out as well. But yeah, when it comes to needles and blood and all that kind of stuff, I just get very queasy. When I was younger, I used to be really embarrassed by it, and I kind of thought like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I this way? But as I got older, I just realized that that was just something that I was not going to grow out of, and things make me queasy. And if I see, injuries or someone else bleeding a lot or something like that, I will just get very queasy. And now, if and when I have to get my blood drawn, which luckily is not very often, but I always tell the tech, look, I pass out easily, just give me like 5 or 10 minutes after we're done so that I can have some water and make sure that I am coherent before I actually like walk out of here. And people are actually really accommodating, and it's no big deal. But either way, yeah, so I have a history of passing out, and it's not something that I'm super proud of, but I've also just kind of accepted it. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, so we're doing this today. So let's start from the top, and I will insert my opinions throughout. Surface level, obviously I'm not going to go really deep into anything because I don't have, I'm not a doctor and I don't know a whole lot, as I said. So let's start at the top. She says, hi, watermelons. Had a scare today. I was walking out of the store and my body collapsed. Now, first things first, this was 17 hours ago, so we're going to go off of her timeline. That means this happened Friday during the day, September 23rd. At some point during the day is when all of these events unfolded. She hasn't posted on YouTube in a week. So 8 days ago, she posted a short. And then also 8 days ago, she posted a 3-minute and 43-second short video. But aside from that, she hasn't posted. So I'm not sure why things were so quiet over the last 8 days. Now, yesterday, obviously, she was in the hospital. That explains a lot. But as far as all of the other time, why so quiet? Is it because she was being called out? I believe so, but obviously that's just my opinion. Let's continue. My official diagnosis was loss of consciousness, as they couldn't pinpoint what caused it. I don't remember much. So remember that she says, I don't remember much. I blacked out in front of the store where I fell pretty hard, apparently. I remember trying to stand up and not being able to see nor breathe properly, and I collapsed again. I couldn't feel my body. I had no clue what was going on or where I was. I remember people rushed over to help and called 911. At one point, I was convulsing and lost control of my body. So she passed out and was collapsed, but then she went into some kind of convulsions and not being able to see properly. My vision was severely distorted. It was like looking at negative photos, all black and just silvery outlines of people. But she doesn't remember much, but that was a very vivid explanation of what she was seeing. She goes on, I couldn't move and my body was so cold I was shaking. I saw my arm, my skin was white and my fingertips were blue. But usually if you pass out, you have no memory of kind of what's going on. So unless she passed out and then came to, and that's when all of this was happening, I have a lot of questions. I heard a lady say my pupils were not responding to the light. I heard a man, I think the one who initially helped me, mention something about my YouTube channel. So up until this point, I was kind of along, with her, and I could see what she was trying to explain here. As soon as she mentions her YouTube channel, she loses me. Because let me be honest, guys, yes, Ari has 85.9 thousand subscribers, and she had a couple of videos that performed really well. Nobody cares about who Ari Ronnie Spur is. She's not that popular. And before you simps come over here and say, she's so jealous, I am not jealous of Ari. I would rather have all of my integrity and have my small platform than have whatever bullshit con artist shows she's pulling and have a higher sub count. I have trust with my audience, and I have always been honest with my following, and I'd rather have 5 subscribers that believe me and I'm honest with them and they are here for me than have a high sub count of simps who just drool over everything that I say, and I know that I'm lying to them and they just believe it. No. Several times I heard that my pulse was low. I gained consciousness around the same times the paramedics arrived, but I thought that you gained it before because you were able to describe the fingertips being blue and people looking like negative photos. It's not lining up, Ari, Ronnie. I heard them say my blood pressure was low. I remember being taken to the hospital in an ambulance. When I arrived, they hooked me up, ran tests, and monitored everything until I was fully conscious again. But you said that you gained consciousness when the paramedics arrived. But now you weren't fully conscious until they had time to run tests and hook you up to all these machines, and you were actually in the ER. Other than low blood pressure, the doctor said my tests came back okay. What tests? What tests were done? That's what I'd like to know. Because if you're going to come out with a story about something that happened, I mean, maybe give a little more info. I don't know. I mentioned that my chest felt bruised, like it had undergone some strenuous pain. I asked if I could have possibly had a heart attack or stroke, but the doctor didn't believe that to be the case. I wasn't given a direct answer as to what happened. I was told to follow up with a doctor whom he recommended. I was at least glad that the staff members were all very kind and attentive and made sure I was okay before leaving. The hospital I was taken to was about 2 miles from where I parked. I left the hospital and walked through town as far as I could. Now, here is where I have to stop again. If you come in because you passed out and you supposedly fell hard enough to have all these injuries that she has displayed in these photos, the hospital is going to make sure that you have a cab that is called to the hospital to pick you up to take you back to your vehicle, or they're going to ask you to call a friend or family member. Most hospitals, based on my experiences, are not going to allow you to walk 2 miles back to your car after you had just come in from fully losing consciousness and having a low blood pressure and all of this kind of stuff. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. If you work in a hospital, or better yet, if you work in an ER and you have a patient that comes in because they had fully lost consciousness at a store or whatever, and they were brought in by the paramedics, by EMTs, are you, as a hospital staff, going to just send them on their way? Or are you going to, if they don't have a friend or family member to come pick them up, will you arrange a cab for them? Sound off in the comments. Tell me if I'm wrong. My main concern was just getting to my car. I didn't think I'd have a problem walking just 2 miles. 2 miles is a really, really long way for someone who just came out of the hospital. But then it came to a point where I couldn't walk anymore. The walkways ended and I couldn't get through traffic. My body hurt and I was dehydrated. I called a Lyft and he couldn't show. I called a Lyft, but he couldn't find me. I sat on the street curb under a tree where I waited for him. He ended up marking me as a no-show and charged me double for the Lyft, which I didn't even get. I'm going to read some comments from Lyft drivers, and based on what they're saying from being in, contractors of Lyft, that's a BS lie, but we'll get into that once I'm done here. I spoke to the driver briefly on the phone and he told me that he couldn't turn back and that I'd have to pay for another Lyft. I wasn't able to do that again, so I approached a man close by in a parking lot and asked for a ride. But Ari, you've made so much money off donations and your YouTube AdSense, so where did all that money go? And you just got paid again on September 21st, and you didn't have money to do another Lyft? Is that what you're trying to say here? Where's all the money that you've been making off YouTube? He was kind enough to do so. Minutes after arriving at my car, I recorded a short video for you guys to try to explain what happened, but much detail was left out as I wasn't feeling myself yet. I just now started to feel normal again, clear enough to explain everything that I remember. But as for now, my entire body, my neck, my hip, my knees especially hurt, and they're both swollen. I'll post what I did record tomorrow in addition to an update on Rude Jude and what happened with the interview. I know some people are saying I lied about it, but as everything else, I didn't lie. Now, I've kind of changed my stance. At first, I did think that she was lying about the Rude Jude thing, but I think maybe what happened was she got tricked and she fell for it because she thinks that she's a famous YouTuber of the world and she's not. So I don't necessarily know that she was fully lying about it, but I do think that she was very gullible and thought that her self-importance was just way more than it actually is. I think we've heard that exhibited many times through her own words. And I think that she was possibly tricked. But again, I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I'm still kind of undecided. That's simply another rumor. Well, there's not been a whole lot of rumors when it comes to Ronnie. There's been official documents that have been outlined. There's been, testimonials from people that work with child protective agencies and testimonials from her own grandparents, and lots of information that has come out, outlining like her criminal history. Like, where are the rumors? What are the rumors? That's what I want to know. There's a reason it didn't happen, and I'm more than happy to explain and give all the details tomorrow. Thank you for your continued love, support, and understanding of my time off from social media. If any of you are going through something right now, please know this: the enemy attacks the hardest when God is about to lift you highest. Get out of here with that Jesus nonsense. So Like and Legion put up a video on his channel talking about this, and I want to read what I found from the Lyft driver. Okay, so the first person said, okay, in California, the hospitals can't release you without making sure that you have a ride, especially if you have been in the ER. And someone else said, wow, she's so full of shit. You're having a medical crisis, and 1/3 of this note is about her rideshare experience where the Lyft driver couldn't find her sitting under a tree. Charge double? Impossible. You either get charged for the ride or it's a no-show. Lyft's app pinpoints the driver to the person's exact location, to the rider's phone and the address as well. Thank God a good Samaritan came crawling back, blah, blah, blah. So comical. And that's kind of what I thought. If it's marked as a quote no show, then how can Lyft as a reputable, pretty reputable company charge you twice? Not only charge you once, but charge you twice. Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense. Now, when it comes to her injuries, I will give you guys my dummy stance on what I think has happened here. I am a very clumsy person, and on top of passing out, I'm also very clumsy. I have had my fair share of trips and falls and just scraping my knees, hitting my elbows, so on and so forth. One, either she fell and scraped her knees, or two, she got into some kind of physical altercation with somebody. And you can tell this by the injuries to her knuckles. Here's my whole thing. When you pass out, you usually end up falling back or you fall forward. And for her to fall to her knees and also hit her shoulder and her knuckles somehow, all by losing consciousness, to me, it doesn't make any sense. And when I saw these, I immediately thought of someone who got into some kind of physical altercation. And maybe it was two things. Maybe it was a physical altercation and she fell. To me, being just kind of like an everyday person, the injuries that she showed in her own photos do not look like ones that would have been obtained by simply passing out. You might hit the back of your head. I can see the knee thing, but I can't see the shoulder and the hands, like all of it put together. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, I want you guys to obviously tell me how you feel about this, but if she was in the hospital, which for now, let's just go with her narrative that she was in the hospital, I don't think that the reasoning that she was there is what she is feeding out to people. And that's kind of my stance on things as of right now. But I really want to know how you guys feel about this. I could have told you guys that, Ari's being called out, Ronnie's being called out. She's either going to disappear or she's going to come back with some kind of really sad story about some kind of crazy thing that happened to her. And now she needs all of her water felons to help her get to the next thing or whatever. And at this point, it's just ridiculous. And like I said, if you want to give her money, go for it. But you should know where your money is going, and also the fact that she's sitting here trying to cry over a fucking Lyft fare when she just got her money from YouTube 3 days ago. Where's all your money going, Ari? So something is fishy. in the water with Ronnie Spur, Ari, All In With Ari, whatever you want to call her. But I can't wait to hear what you guys had to say. I'm going to post this video right away, so sound off in the comments. So for now, if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.